Hello, I'm here in my Smurf room tonight, and I'd like to share with you a story about some very important figurines to my collection. Um, when I was a small child, I had an aunt who was just a few years older than me. She was 8 years older than me, and she used to babysit me, and she was a lot more like a sister to me than an aunt. We were very close, and ever since I was a little kid, I was always very into the Smurfs. Even before I knew what the Smurfs cartoon was when it came out in the early 80s, I had a Smurf figurine before that, and I just called him Little Blue Man. And then he was always my favorite toy. And once the cartoon came out, I found out that there were more Smurfs, and I had to get all of them. And still to this day, I don't have all of them, but I'm trying. um, well, my aunt used to play Smurfs with me, and on the bottom of our Smurfs, we would put our initials. That was something that a lot of kids in the neighborhood did. We put our initials on the bottom of our toys so they didn't get mixed up. And my aunt Sherri's favorite Smurf was this Smurf, the Pilgrim Smurfette. Kind of a rare figure. It is 1982 Portugal, and it was exclusive to Hallmark here in the United States at the time. And that was her favorite toy. We were very close, and then when I was 9 years old, I was separated from my aunt Sherri and a lot of my family. I did not get to see them again until I was 16. Um, this is me and my aunt Sherri here when I was 16. So when I was reunited with them, I asked Sherri what happened to her Smurfs. And she said that she had given them to the Salvation Army years ago. And I could not believe this. I was like, what? I was just beyond words. But that's what she did. She gave away her Smurfs. So life goes on. I guess she figured I would not be as interested in them when I was older, but as you can see, I never grew out of my fascination with the Smurfs. Um, so I was very thankful to have my Aunt Sherri back in my life, and I enjoyed spending time with her. Unfortunately, 5 years after that, she died in an accident, and that was 1998. It's been 24 years, but I still think of her often and miss her very much. So, her death has always been very difficult for me. Then in 2007, this was 9 years after her death, I was doing what I call Smurf hunting. I would go around to different antique shops and look for Smurfs, and they're very hard to find, as you can imagine. A lot of them haven't been made since the 70s or the 80s, and they're just not that easy to find and out in the wild. A lot of them you have to find online. So on Craigslist, which was popular at the time, but I guess now is just spam, I found this guy who's selling a lot of Smurfs. There were several hundred Smurfs in this lot, and one of the most rare Smurfs, actually at the time it was the most rare Smurf figurine ever, is this praying Smurfette. She is also from 1982 Portugal, like the Pilgrim Smurfette. But this praying Smurfette was one of the Smurfs that was in this lot of Smurfs in on Craigslist. And I emailed the guy. I looked at the pictures of this lot of Smurfs, and the only Smurf that I wanted from the lot was this Smurf because I already had all the other Smurfs in the lot. So I wasn't really interested in getting a lot of duplicates. I just wanted that particular Smurf, and I said, please, can you just sell me that Smurf? And he said, no, you have to buy the whole thing or not at all. So I almost didn't get it, but I really wanted the Smurf, and I hadn't been able to find the praying Smurfette anywhere. There's also a praying Smurf, which still to this day I still do not have. But I decided that I would buy the whole lot of Smurfs just so I could get this praying Smurfette. And the guy would not ship to the United States. He's in Tijuana. And at the time I lived in Los Angeles, and that's like a 3 hour trip for me anyway, because I drive the speed limit. And I really almost didn't go, but I decided I would drive down there one day and get this lot of Smurfs. So I drove to Tijuana and I got this lot of Smurfs, and I was so happy that I finally got the praying Smurfette. And then I had this huge box of other Smurfs that I already had, and a lot of them were dirty. They had been covered in some kind of black smut, and they were kind of sticky. They were just not in the best condition. So I had them all in this box, and over the next few weeks I was cleaning out the box, and I would wash them off and just kind of see what I had. And when I was cleaning out this box of Smurfs, I came across this figure, the Pilgrim Smurfette, and I had already had one of those. It reminds me a lot of my Aunt Sherri, so it's always been a special figure to me. But when I was cleaning off this Pilgrim Smurfette that I got in Tijuana and was in this box that I had had sitting for weeks, I turned over the Smurf, and on the bottom of the figure you can see my Aunt Sherri's initials. They're not as clear as they used to be, but it says SH. So this figure is the actual figure that used to belong to my dead aunt, that she had given away to the Salvation Army over 15 years before. So I immediately looked through the whole box looking for any other figures that might have her initials on it, but this was the only one, and it was her favorite one. So this instantly became my favorite Smurf. When people ask me what my favorite Smurf is, I always say the blue one, because it's so hard to pick just one Smurf. But if I had to, I would have to say it's this one. It was almost like she was saying hello to me from heaven. The odds of me finding an exact figure that belonged to her so many years before are just impossible. But now I have this figure that belonged to my aunt, and it's something that I will always treasure. Thank you for listening to my story.